Hello, and thank you for joining us for our fifth breakout session of the Oklahoma Excavation Safety Virtual Expo. James with Energy WorldNet is going to be providing us a topic about managing people who may not be like you. So, really good topic. It's one of the few that doesn't talk about digging at all. You don't need a shovel to learn anything in this particular breakout session. If you have not used GoToWebinar before, let me break down this interface for you real quick. The big thing that you need to know is that orange arrow, that's the anchor of your interface. If it disappears or if you need to minimize it, use that orange arrow. It's going to open and collapse the interface for you. Also, there's an opportunity for you to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions at any time during the presentation. James and I will keep our eye out on it and let you know if we can answer it immediately or if it may wait till the end. But do not hesitate to ask those questions so that we know that they're there. Also, I'll be sending out a couple of little chat messages, hopefully keeping you engaged. And then also at the end of the session is when we're going to be doing a drawing for a $100 gift card to Amazon. So you get to learn some really cool stuff, have a chance to win. All you have to do is attend and stay engaged throughout the thing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to James and we'll go from there. James, it's all you.
All right, MG. Can you see my screen? Are we good?
You're ready to go.
All right. Well, thank you, MG. Lucky enough, I drew the dreaded last slot of the day again, aka the napping hour. At least this thing's virtual though, because there's nothing quite like watching 4 to 6 grown adults sleep through the most boring session ever. It has to be the worst thing ever for morale. And in that moment when everybody starts clapping and they kind of snarf themselves awake and then they start clapping, I mean, it saves a lot of embarrassment for a lot of us. So, hey, a plus for virtual conferences. A few negatives though for virtual. Number one, I usually pick about 4 or 5 people that I really like focus on, reiterate points with. I look them in their eye and really drive home the points that I say. I joke that it's kind of like fortune telling. Surely I'm hitting someone somewhere at some point. And when these things were in person, I just imagine that person going back to the hotel at the end of the night and talking to their spouse and saying, you know, it was like James was just speaking right to me. That's because I was. You know, and I hope that it changes their life. But the other thing, for someone who relies about 75% on humor in their daily life, it's hard not to hear people laugh. That one's really tough for me. But good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, MG, for the intro. Thank you to Oki 811 for having us today speaking, and also for the exhibitor hour here following this. We recently had an MG on as a guest, and I don't know how to explain it. We just bonded instantly. For those that don't know, myself and my colleague, Jim Shower, shout out, we have a podcast called Coffee with Jim and James, and MG was a guest on it about a month back. And I'm telling you, we just connected instantly. I think probably because we both wore hoodies and probably just because we had beards, but for whatever reason, we had an instant connection. So if it wasn't for that meeting, I wouldn't be here speaking today. And you might not have learned one of these awesome nuggets that I hope you gather from today. And you wouldn't have brought it back to your team, and which in turn makes them better, which then in turn makes you better, which then gets you that raise you've been asking for, which allows you to buy that boat that you've always wanted and catch that elusive big fish that you eventually put on your wall and that your grandkids talk about and pass on to their kids. None of that would have even happened if MG and I hadn't met on that show. How's that for butterfly effect? But enough about MG. We all love him. I digress. But today isn't about MG. You know, back in the day, way back in the day, like 2019 BC, that's before Corona, back in our non-virtual life, I would have packed up on a Tuesday. I would have flew or drove to a venue and spent a few days away from the family. And many times as I'm about to head out on the road, my day, like most days, start at the breakfast table with my family. And as a family, we made a commitment a long time ago to eat as often as we can as a family. And I'm so blessed to do that. Today was no different. See, my son asked, Dad, what's your day look like today? And I mentioned to him about how I used to travel to conferences, but this one was virtual. And then it hits him what I'm going to be doing today. He knows I speak a lot in the industry, so he asked me if I was going to be speaking today, and if so, on what? And I told him it was managing and leading people not like you. He said, oh, yeah, that's the one like you described about my teacher. You see, last year I spoke on this topic, and how I broke it down to him was like his teacher. I related it to teachers and them getting a new class each year. Now imagine, okay, think about your teams you work with every single day. Imagine if you received a brand new team each year that you had to figure out how to manage. Teachers have to figure this out with a new group of kids, learning, growing, adapting, and getting the best out of those individuals. And you have different ages and genders and learning styles. Some are wild, like my kids, some are tame, different races, economics, and so on. This is very similar to what we'll be talking about today. Now, not to be outdone, my daughter chimes in. Now, she doesn't care as much about what I'm speaking about. She's more into whether I'll be flying there or not. And I told her no, and that this was a virtual conference. You see, her questions come from a different place, though. She asked me again if I would be flying my plane again this time. So, look, here's the deal. I might have told her at some point that I was a pilot last year and that her daddy flew planes, because it was funny the way she said it. That's how she thought I meant it. But now she's telling folks in the church nursery that her daddy flies planes, and I don't have it in me to break her heart, but it's creeping into our church life. But that's not the point today. What we're talking about today should relate and bring back home to you. Okay, we will talk about things that'll make us laugh, but it all leads to a bigger point. You ready? This stuff works beyond work. Unlike several sessions today on this agenda, and no offense to my fellow speakers, this topic is one that you can take home and apply to multiple aspects of your life, not just work. Now, I'm not being mean or hateful to other presenters, but go home and try to talk to your spouse or loved ones about regulatory updates. It doesn't go well, trust me. But leading can be in many forms, and I say it all the time that you can lead from wherever, from anywhere. These precepts apply no matter what that we'll go over today. But listen, no matter how it goes, I have a strict no refund policy. I don't want to call at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday because you didn't quite word something just right and your spouse has you sleeping on the couch. I'm just saying. I'm not liable for what you say to your wife, guys. Women know better. But listen, before we get started, let's talk some rules. All right. I'm a simple man. I like to know what is expected of me before I commit my time and effort and money. And so, in order to get the best results today, I'll lay out how I expect things to run for the next 45 minutes or so. It's not anything crazy. Don't expect much from you. Don't freak out. Just a few things that we can get out of the way now so we can be friends. So the first rule, just because I'm up here speaking doesn't mean anything. In fact, in full transparency, I have no clue what I'm doing. Okay, don't tell anyone. My whole life, I've been blessed to make people laugh while I speak the truth. And somehow that's a novelty, so here I am. Believe me though, I put my pants on the same way you do each morning. Second rule, I expect everyone's going to be on their phones at some point. It's virtual after all, okay? There will be emails, you may check your stonks, it's okay. I won't be mad. You may want to share that fire meme on Facebook. Get involved in those political post comments. I really don't care. I get paid the same amount of money either way. I'm not Netflix. I'm not going to check in on you, and I don't care if you're still watching or not. But seriously, I realize we all have jobs to do, and virtually makes that a little bit tougher. And if you need to do your job today while we're here, feel free. We won't judge you any more than we already are. Next rule. This is a somewhat interactive presentation. If we are in person, it may be even more, but don't worry, we're not going to break you into breakout rooms and make you sing Kumbaya or talk about your feelings. The more engaged we are as a group, however, the better this span of time is going to be for all of us. And hopefully I'm stalling enough that I can make up for some of that time. But really, if you have questions or have a story you want to tell, yell at me, virtually, of course, in the chat MG talked about earlier. I'm fine with that. If you want to go on a tangent and tell a story about one of your old bosses, we might make you a panelist. But seriously, ask questions. Use the chat feature. I'm here to make this land for as many people as possible. And MG, if you wouldn't mind chiming in with the chat, it's hard for me to see it and still see my notes. So if you don't mind, I would appreciate that, sir.
I'm there for you.
And the last one, thank you. And the last one, as a society, we have been taught that we take notes on everything. Okay, school taught us that, college taught us that, work taught us that. In fact, note taking has almost taken the place of paying attention pretty much as a standard. Look, I take notes, but usually it's just a picture of a slide, or I'll message myself a one-liner that I want to remember for next time. But otherwise, I try to stay engaged and listen. Now, let me give you a very simple example. How many people love live music? Chime in on the chat. I can feel all your hands going up, but that's not how this works anymore. Chime in on the chat. I love live music. Okay, concerts, patios, listening to live music, maybe having an adult beverage or iced tea. You can't beat it, right? I love live music, and I can feel all of you raising your hand. How many times, okay, how many people do you see watching a concert like this? All the time, right? I saw a comedian the other day that said, why do we do this? Why do we pay all this money, spend all this time to get ready and get there on time, get to our seats, get ready? Then we make this decision. Man, I really don't want to watch this right now. Maybe maybe later, smaller and in terrible quality. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But we do it all the time. And my wife is a photographer, okay? So she books weddings. And so I'm her second shooter at weddings. So about once a month or so, my wife is my boss. I mean, actually, she's my boss all the time, but sometimes double boss happens, okay? Some weekends I get double bossed. And so one of my favorite pictures, though, to take, because I'm the second shooter, which means I'm super not important, is I slide back. And as everything kicks off, guess what you see? 10, 15, 20 people all like this. And I snapped that one because they're watching this all through their 5-inch device instead of in real life. This event, we hope, is only going to happen one time. And they're adamant about being able to watch it in poor quality later, which 9 times out of 10 they don't. Look, take screenshots, ask questions, do whatever you have to get the most out of today. Hell, take notes if you have to, but don't let the notes take you. Now let's talk about expectations. First, set them low, okay? That way we can meet them or blow them out of the water. But beyond that, let me give you a window into what today and the 4 things that you can expect to melt your brain at some point. All right, the first one, the variables. It sounds like a movie, maybe the latest Quentin Tarantino movie, The Variables, starring Brad Pitt and John Leguizamo. But this workforce that we're a part of right now and attempting to lead is the most diverse group ever. Notice I said ever, not one of the most, the most. We're going to speak freely about that group and what to expect. Stories, stories, and more stories. This is how we learn, right? Real world situations that you and I can relate to. And if you find a moment where you would like to share a story, send it over in chat. I'm sure MG will read it. He probably won't. And I will gladly give you some of my 45 minutes to share your story. If we were in person, people jump up all the time. We have wild stories. It's one of the favorite parts. Next is the meat of it, the 7 precepts or rules or whatever you want to call them. We'll dive deep into the 7 rules of leading those not like you. All of these can and will make an impact as you begin to build and earn the respect of those teams you begin implementing it with. And the last one, walking away with action. To me, this is the most valuable section as to, I mean, what good is all this if we don't have a clear path forward to making it work? And I'll give you a few quick tips of putting it in action so you can walk away with something. So let's get started. And to start, let's rip the Band-Aid off and jump right into the variables. The current workforce is impacted by more variables than any workforce in previous years. Generations before us really only had a few variables, and over time we layered more and more and more. And if you think back, our grandfathers and grandparents likely dealt with race and gender and financial being the largest variables. Then the others were just minor inconveniences. Today, though, today's a little different. And as I said, we have the most diverse workforce ever. Generations currently in the workforce, something that tends to impact how we manage and lead teams. Let's look at a few of the obstacles and variables that we have to consider in the modern workforce. I think you might be a little surprised. So let me bring that up. And as much as this might infuriate some people, there is not a reason to get upset about what we have to deal with, because this is reality either way. I won't read all of these aloud because you're already doing that in your head. But seeing some of these might be the first time that you've considered it impacting the way you lead or manage people. I will say this. Do you see why this is on the agenda today? This is a real issue that we all have to get better at and spend time navigating, because one false move or one lack of consideration, and you might find yourself at a job fair instead of this conference. And I know that seems harsh, but in reality, long gone are the days of tolerance, of treating employees or coworkers with ill will. And not just that, you not only could find yourself without a job, but also in legal proceedings. So let's try to avoid all that. But here's the good news. You are here today. And if you get nothing out of today, which I pray is not the case, let's take home that this is serious. Okay, we may make some jokes and bring in real situations that make us laugh along the way because we live to tell about it. But ultimately, we are here to learn how to better ourselves and how to lead. I feel like we could stop and have everyone, if we were in person, I'd make you do it. I feel like we could stop and have everyone just say out loud, we are a diverse group, and that's okay. The quicker you realize that fact, the quicker you can get to working towards a better outlook and understanding how to lead your respective groups, the better off you'll be. Hopefully hearing it today makes it real. You know, sometimes we just need to hear something out loud for it to become real. So there you have it. When ramping up your skills with diverse groups, you might get a rush of feelings that are uncomfortable. But much like I mentioned about the power of just acknowledging something and facing and dealing with it head on, that's our reality. So let's look at some of those feelings. The first one, anxiety. I know a lot of us probably deal with anxiety in some way, shape, and form. So feelings like anxiety are something that most people deal with. And now it may come out in different ways with different people. It manifests. But anxiety about uncomfortable situations is human. And you're human. So it's okay. The second one is stress. Stressing about what needs to happen or how you deal with situation, again, something that's going to happen naturally. You're wired to be concerned when things are new or different. But the more you embrace it, the more comfortable it will become and the less you'll stress about it. Think about the first time you performed your job out in the field. Now, thinking back, whether it was welding or running a backhoe or line locating, it got easier over time and your stress levels plummet. These things we'll talk about today are no different. And let's be honest, talking about our feelings and other people's feelings can be tough. Like, I'm a guy. We were told from birth to man up, suck it up, buttercup, and to wipe your tears away. You know, you're not a man if you show your emotion. But I also know all you guys and women, I'm not singling you out. I'll single you out later. So enjoy it for now. You all had a mom. It's true. We were all birthed by someone. And I know my mom would be proud to see us here today talking about our feelings. The truth is, it's awkward, as most new and delicate things are. But once again, call a spade and say, you know what? I know this is awkward, but it's a great way to start conversations. And honestly, if you're feeling the awkwardness, they probably are too. Now, this last one's a bit different than the others. Resentment is a choice. Okay? Let me say that one more time. This is one of the most important things you'll hear today. Resentment is a choice. And if you are resenting someone on your team that you're leading due to their gender, their race, position, ethnic group, religion, political views, or what NASCAR driver they root for, that's a choice, my friends. And you're choosing to fill your time with negativity, and you're affecting others with your thoughts and actions and attitude. And that's not acceptable. Now, in case you're a stats nerd like me, and y'all know the ones, and that's great, James, but show me the numbers. I can say that because that's literally what I would say. I have a laundry list of studies and stats that I'd be happy to send you to help you build a case for diversity and inclusion within your company, but I'm a brand and marketing guy. So honestly, I pulled the sexy ones out so you didn't write them down or take pictures because that's my job. So, but who wouldn't want these types of results and stats when talking about their company? Look at the 67% want diversity within their workplace. The diverse companies perform 2.3 times better. I'll take those stats all day long. Now let's get into the good stuff. These 7 laws, precepts, rules, whatever word you want to use, it doesn't matter. Just remember there's 7 of them. Whatever you want to call it will help you immensely in getting a jump start on managing and leading those not like you. Maybe you're not ready to dive in yet, but maybe 2 or 3 of these could be a use of you today, tomorrow, or in the near future. Start small, add a few more, scale back, master a few. Whatever you can do to help continue down the path of continuous improvement, that's what we're looking for. Because sitting idle really gets us nowhere. So let's get started. I have a simple saying that I use all the time when people ask. You know, at the end of these, I always get, all right, well, how do I get started? Ready? This is earth shattering. Just start. That's it. Again, just start. Nothing gets done in this world without starting. And that also is the case when leading and managing teams not like you. It starts with breaking the ice. It's like dating. Seriously, don't tell HR I said that. But really, think about the colleagues that you work best with, or the folks that you have managed in the past, maybe that you just clicked with. You didn't know them from Adam the first day you started, or vice versa. You dated them. You learned about their backgrounds. What made them tick, what kept them up at night, what did they do on Saturdays, what their kids' names were they married. You get the idea. Sometimes in the workplace, we make it too hard. We walk in with these preconceived notions about people, going back to those variables, remember, based on no knowledge whatsoever. We don't have a clue about them, just perception. And that complicates it and makes it harder. So break the ice with your teams. Okay, start talking. You know how I break the ice? Food. I'm a food guy. Okay, I love barbecue. Most people love barbecue. Boom, best friends. Pretty simple. If someone happens to be a vegetarian or a vegan, I might say, oh man, I totally get it. That's why I like barbecue so much. I can't stand to herd plants. High five. Either way, I have a solution, right? We're best friends. Football fans, ooh, man, how about them Cowboys? I really deep down, I hate the Cowboys. Okay, don't tell anybody. They say, oh, I know it was a good game, wasn't it? And then I break the news to them that I hate the Cowboys because I'm a Washington fan. Go football team. I don't know anymore. Or maybe they hate the Cowboys too. Again, boom, best friends. We're dating just like that. Keep it simple. Simple topic, simple language, simple either way answers. Look for clues. Are they wearing hats? Are they listening to music? Do they have a sticker on the back of their car? Something is screaming out to you to get you there to help break that ice. Number two, finding common ground. Now, I am a firm believer in passionate conversation amongst teams. I want people who will fight for what they believe in. I think it's very important. The minute your team would rather lie down than to speak up for what they feel and why, you've got a major problem. Let me give you a good example of what I'm talking about. How many moms and dads do I have in here? Okay, you chime in and chat. Okay, I'll let it do it. It's a lot easier in person. All right, I can feel all the hands. Yes, got it. Okay, I know there are a lot of you. How many people are married? Okay, hopefully some of the same people. Anyone raising a daughter? How about a son? Right? How about a mixture of all those things? Okay, did you pick up what I was doing at the beginning of this presentation? What I did was establish some common ground. I made a few very simple and honest statements on purpose to accomplish the first two rules, breaking the ice and establish common ground. I made a pointed effort to let everyone know I was a dad and a poor one. Okay. I had a family and that I deal with similar situations like eating breakfast and leaving for travel because I've been around the industry enough that I know a lot of you have the same interactions. And hearing stories and seeing pictures, that makes it real, whether I made them up or not. It's about finding a common ground to stand on because leading is about trust, and trust comes from understanding each other. Common ground is a foundation to build on, which leads us to number three. This next one isn't standing in line with your team and doing trust falls. I just thought that icon was cool. But it is about being somewhat vulnerable. And again, honesty is at the core of it all. There are two types of trust in this world. The first one is common trust. Common trust is what we have for others, like on the road, okay? That no one is going to go crazy, jump the median, and take you out on purpose. That they're going to follow the rules and do what they say. It's primarily for things that we may not have control over. For instance, if anyone were to have flown here in a real conference, it's the trust in the pilot that they're properly trained and they would get us there safely. Now, the second type is vulnerability trust. This happens in business and in working environments a lot. This is built through interactions and straight shooting each other. It's granted after those types of moments that are hard, but show the true integrity of those involved. And in the same breath, it can be easily revoked in a poorly handled situation or one in which those involved are deceitful. And honestly, this is hard to recover from. And at all costs, I would try to avoid it. Now, the tricky part of building trust is that it isn't always black and white sometimes. Okay? It might appear so, but underneath, it may not be. And so let me give you an example. At a previous job in a different industry, I had an unfortunate situation where we had made some promises to our team. And due to not hitting some numbers that honestly was out of their control, ended up with us not being able to make right on some of those promises. And I'll be honest, this was not a conversation I was excited about having. But I'm a straight shooter, I always have been, and I knew what I needed to do. And so one by one, I pulled each person in and had very honest conversations, but simple conversations with them. I helped each person come to terms with the reality of the situation. And because it was one on one, I was able to tailor each conversation to the individual and pull that common ground that we had built previously in. So I tell you this story because it is one in which you would think, oh, that's a detractor, right? That's a negative experience. But and I won't lie, for some of the people on the team, that was very much the case at first. But I can tell you that a few people might have felt betrayed, but understood that it was a decision the company had made. And because of our connection over time, that situation actually built more trust. You see, they knew the reality of the situation, and to them, they knew they could trust me and that I was going to shoot them straight. Understanding that every situation, good or bad, perception wise, is an opportunity to build trust for the future. So don't walk in dreading situations just because they may seem unsavory. Number 4, remember when we spent 10 minutes going over all those variables that we have to contend with in this new workforce? I feel like we should all just say it together and loudly. We are different, because we are. We have different makeups, upbringings, we dress differently, we pray differently. Some of us hate Brussels sprouts, and some of us love them. I love them. Some are gamblers, some are penny pinchers. Some drink beer, some drink wine, some drink whiskey, and some none of the above. Differences are something that are both very real and very normal in the workplace. And just knowing that as we walk into a situation helps us bring clarity to the task at hand. Let's get into it. Come on, ready? Let's talk about the funniest one, in my opinion, and that's men versus women. Okay. Quick story. I worked in IT prior to this industry as a developer and eventually a CIO, leading teams of developers before walking in this direction. And there were small amounts of women in IT comparative to other industries. And our company in particular was basically a frat house. Okay. There was not a single woman on staff besides our HR person, and she was in a different office, thank the Lord, altogether. Okay. Can you imagine what the atmosphere was like? It was hard to offend anyone. In fact, it was almost like a game to do that. Now, fast forward, I'm now at a company of 80 plus people. There's honestly, about half are women. Now, I hadn't worked with women in 10 plus years on a day to day basis. So imagine how I had to adapt. I could offend people by not replying to an email quick enough, or too quick for that matter. I offended my wife every single day because she hadn't had to deal with me working with women. And so I'd come home and say, hey, I was talking to so and so. And she's like, what? But one funny thing happened that made me realize everything. We had a potluck lunch. Now, listen, I love to cook. I already said it. I'm an avid barbecuer. But never in my 10 years at my old job did we ever have a potluck. Okay. I mean, we just don't organize stuff like that a lot of time. I think we had a beer exchange one time at Christmas, but beyond that, that's about it. Men and women are different, and that's okay. It's actually really awesome. In regards to leading guys and gals and managing the differences, this is just one small example, but realizing there are differences can change everything. This tip is one of those that transcends work, okay, that I talked about earlier in teams at work. You will win at marriage with this tip. This is the one you can't call me at 3 a.m. though. Ready? Oh, oh, that's a lie. I went ahead. Women want to see every option you have available. Okay. Men, however, we want a cold down kind of cheat sheet version. I'm a marketing guy, and there's reasons that ads show 2 to 3 options for things like TVs and tires. Men, you are the largest consumer of TV and tires, so we make it a little bit easier. But the clothes section of ads, have you ever thumbed through the clothes section of ads? There are 94 pages, all colors, all patterns. I think they even show the sizes. Women want choices and they want to pick the perfect fit. And that is awesome. Guys want the cheat sheet. They want to make the final decision. Now, I used to have a boss that wanted to make all the final decisions. That's what he was made for. He had done it for a long time, and so it was hard for him to let go. So occasionally he would get a wild hair and want to pick a new look or a new system option or design an ad or something. This used to be our nightmare until we learned this trick. What I realized, he wanted the final say. He didn't want to do the due diligence per se and scour the world for all the options. So we began giving him a few options, and boom, we were done in minutes. Well, let's put this into play with our significant others. Why not? It's Tuesday night. My wife says, "What do you want to eat?" I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you feel like having? I don't know. What are you thinking? I don't know. My wife says, "How about pizza or tacos? There's this new sushi place. We could just eat at home. I could figure something else. We have pork chops, or we could do chicken and rice." I'm like, I don't know. Okay, let's reframe that with what we just learned. My wife says, "Hey, what do you want to eat tonight? The new sushi place or pork chops on the grill?" Pork chops sound awesome. Can we drink beer while we grill? I mean, it's that easy. Now, if that isn't worth showing up today, I don't know what it is. Another pro tip, ladies, if you want us to pick the other thing, just pair it with the new sushi place. We'll pick the other thing every time. Let's move on. Oh, and if you, just in case you think that I'm making all this stuff, it's a marketing guy, you can't trust him. Look, I spent about 2 seconds going and finding ads. I literally just searched for ads. And I was like, I wonder if I can find what I'm talking about. Are you ready? Here we go. I wasn't lying. This is not new information. Guys, here's your TV ads. Which one do you want? I want the big one. Ladies, which of these wonderful things would you like? This isn't new info. Marketers have used this forever. Why not use it in real life to get things across the line? All right, number 5. This should be the easiest one, but instead we really overcomplicate it. Why is the golden rule so hard to apply these days? We are a society that wants everything now. We are a society that streams everything. We have FaceTime, we have text, we have Snapchat. Somebody's probably TikToking right now. Everything in our lives is instantaneous. If I want something, I go to Amazon, and by midday tomorrow, I'm wearing it, playing it, reading it, or sending it back. We chat for customer service while we're scrolling through Facebook and Instagram, while binge watching Netflix and Hulu, surfing Amazon for a new pair of shoes. People want what they want. Why not give it to them? That's what they're used to. I'm not talking in an abusive way, okay? I don't want you to be an enabler where you're giving everyone raises and all their time off. But honestly, most people want the same 2 things as a base: attention and time. Simple concept. They want your attention in meetings. They want you to be on time to those meetings and not be spaced out while you're there. They want you to be constructive with your criticism and value their times as much as they value yours. The funny thing about giving people what they want is it's very golden rule-like a lot of the times. They will give you back exactly what you want. Imagine that. I always think of this old proverb that says, if you're going to bow, bow low. Okay, if you're going to go after this thing, why not go all the way? Number 6, you are not going to see eye to eye with everyone. I mentioned this before in the 4th rule. The differences are real and normal. But what I'm trying to give you is the ability to do is to get through projects and situations to get to the finish line. Okay, think about it. If you and I are not perfectly aligned on every little thing, does that mean we can't do a budget together? I hope not. In fact, differences likely are going to get us a better result as we see things differently. Here's a trick for you. This is one of those moments you might want to snap with your phone. That way you can remember it, notes, or you can write it in your notes. Simple phrase, 4 words. These 4 simple words can change things. Express your point, and at the same time, lay the groundwork for working together. It's not offensive. You are not saying you cannot figure out a solution. You just see it differently. I see it differently. So simple. We do not have to agree on everything. We can embrace our differences and get to a completed state in the process. Look, at these events, and this is a downside to virtual. I usually play golf at these events. And there's a saying in golf that there are no pitchers on the scorecard. If anybody knows what that means, I'm sorry, I'm about to bore you. But let's put it in perspective. Let's say I'm on the tee box and I shank my drive into the woods, which hypothetically could happen a lot. I'm behind a tree. I chili dip my next shot behind another tree. And then on my third shot on a par 4, I hole out from that tree for a birdie. Now on the scorecard, it's going to say birdie. There's not going to be parentheses or an asterisk by it that says shanked his drive. Thankfully, this would be the worst scorecard ever. Shanked his drive, chili dipped the next shot, holed out from behind a tree. This is very much the case sometimes with these interactions that we have. Those differences will not amount to much at all at the end of the day. And if you crush your project, high five each other at the end, because there are not pitchers on the scorecard if it got ugly. So use that phrase if you get into a situation where you're stumped or kind of butting heads at progress because you're not seeing eye to eye. I see it differently, can respectively get a project over the line, minus the drama. Look, adding emotions to an already overloaded, variable laden melting pot is a setup for failure. It just is. There's a reason we say leave your baggage at the door. Emotions are tricky, even with the closest friends and family. When you tie them to decisions and money and discussions at work, they are easily misconstrued and can turn a team on an edge in a heartbeat. There's no place for begging or screaming or fighting about a decision in leadership. There's plenty of room for the other 6 rules to help us get what we want and where we want without any of that. So the final rule is meant to keep a level head about yourself in order to accomplish other goals. I'm going to give you one more trick that will change your life from this point forward. It has mine. I use it all the time. And I know my colleagues will say, oh my gosh, she's doing that to me. But it's simple. All right, let's check it out. This is another one of those picture apps. So let's talk about this simple statement. MG, can you be a volunteer for me?
Certainly, I'm here for you.
All right. I just need you to say, hey, James, can you do something for me?
Hey, James, can you do something for me?
And MG, my boss, he's hounding me about these reports. Man, I wish I could help you out, but you know how he gets, man. All right. So he gave me a way out, right? He asked for help, but kinda. All right. So MG, I want you to do it one other way for me. I just want you to say, James, I need your help.
James, I need your help.
With what, MG? So I'm instantly wired to help him. Okay. He made a statement there. That's the big difference. I need your help makes me feel something. And humans dig it. We start societies and communities because we like to be together and we love to help each other. And even though those 2 statements feel like the same, you gave me a way out on the first one, and everybody's busy. But when you say, I need your help, I'm like, whoa, what can I do? And in my gut, I'm saying, MG knows I know my stuff, and he's reaching out for help. He knows I'm someone he can trust. I got to do whatever he needs. So what do you need feels natural. Okay. MG, one last time, I just want you to do the same thing. I need your help.
James, I need your help.
Nah, I'm good.
That feels weird.
It doesn't even feel right? We laugh because it doesn't feel right. And it's not going to happen. We're not wired that way. I'm telling you, this could be the single most game changer. I think I said that 8 times today, so hopefully you wrote them all down. This is a game changer. I use it all the time. Try using it. Try using it in the near future, and I promise you it'll work. All right, last chunk. We're gonna wrap this thing up. So hopefully you've learned something today. Let's see it in the chat. What was the biggest eye-opening thing for you? Anybody chime in? I can see it right now, so we'll pretend I've watched the whole thing. Biggest lesson today, Mr. MG chiming in. Let's see, what do we got? What do we got? Nothing. Cool. I didn't learn much either because I've done this before. Hopefully it was, I need your help, or I see it differently. Any of those things can be used.
Yeah, there's some answers coming in for you, James. If you'll go and open up the open up the questions tab. That's where the answers are coming in. But yeah, so plenty of stuff there for you. I really like what Crystal said. I need your help, and choice options for men versus women.
There we go. James likes barbecue, that's for sure. Y'all are paying attention. I love it. So all of these are great boys. And I have 4 quick points real quick just to get us wrapped up here, right? So let's jump in there. I want you to go back and make an impact with the people that you're leading, wherever you're leading from. So here we go. Number 1, just know it isn't easy, okay? And it's going to be awkward. That's okay, but it's only awkward once, okay, as you start working with people and talking about that, all right? Second one, remember, people are different, and that's perfectly okay. And we have differences. That's natural. Work with it. Adapt. Roll with the punches. It's going to take time to get there, but as long as you know it's about continuous improvement, you'll get there. This next one, using simple words has so much power. No one's going to be impressed with your vocabulary when you're working through a situation. Okay? Using simple words calms people down, and people react better when they can figure out what it is you're saying when you say it, and they don't leave questioning. And then lastly, remember the life hack on asking for help. I need your help as a game changer, so start using that today. And lastly, whatever you do, be a leader that makes echoes. You are here, which means you had a reason that you wanted to be here. We are setting the example for leaders to come. And this is so huge. They say that you're not a leader until you make a leader that makes a leader. That's echoes. Those are the echoes that I'm talking about. You have this power. Now you have these skills that we talked about today, and you can do it. So make echoes. And if you want to read more on this topic, this is a great book that a lot of this honestly is pulled from. How to Work and Lead People Not Like You by Kelly McDonald. She's a funny author. There's a lot of content in there, but it's a really easy one to read. So for those that enjoy reading, it's an easy book, but it's only about 150 pages, and I think it's like in a 16 font, so it's right up my alley. Listen, I appreciate your time today. I know it's super valuable. Please provide me with any feedback that you might have, Okie811, and more importantly, tell everyone you know about this topic and me personally as a speaker. We have a lot of industry topics at Energy WorldNet, from OQ to compliance to PSMS to non-industry specific topics like today. We love to speak in the industry. We love to support our industry in all kinds of ways. If you sit on a committee and liked what you saw today or what was said, please reach out. This next slide, I'll have all my contact info, but feel free to stop by. If we had a booth, I would say stop by the booth. But stop by and catch the latest episodes of our podcast as well, Coffee with Jim and James. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, it'll be obvious how to get there. It's available on all the platforms you listen to podcasts on. Thanks again. Please take a picture of this next slide. Shoot me an email, LinkedIn. Let's set up a Zoom call. We can talk shop. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today. And here's my contact info. And there's my crazy mug right there. All right. Well, hey, thank you to MG, Okie811, and everybody that attended today. I appreciate you.
Awesome, James. I appreciate all the information you shared with us. Just from the chat, I can tell that you made an impact on a lot of people with some of the things you shared today. I know for me, being that I need help got me. I love the example you gave when you said no to me after I said I need help and what I did. That just felt weird still. Um, so there's some questions coming in, kind of all over the place. One of the things that was asked is talking about differences within the team. There's one thing being above um, diverse team, but what about getting those team to get along? How do you lead by example and get that to work out?
Sure. Well, I'll say what I said in the presentation, and that is, uh, leadership is not necessarily a title, right? It's an action. And I said in there that you can lead from anywhere, and sometimes that means leading in a parallel position or a lateral position. That doesn't always mean projecting down. And so you nailed it. All these still work the same way. If you're seeing people not connected and not living up to those things, then how do you bring them along? And a lot of the time that's the problem, is we expect everyone, a lot of us that are on here are probably a lot of the people that attend sessions and workshops and all kinds of things. I remind people all the time, you are highly skilled whether you realize it or not right now, because the majority of the workforce does not get these types of opportunities. Our industry is fantastic about providing more to our people, and sometimes we forget that. And when you're overskilled, you try to just get them where you are instead of bringing them along the whole way. So realizing that, like, maybe you have to go back to 10-year-old self, 10 years back, and say, how would I have done this if I wasn't this skilled in emotional intelligence or soft skills or whatever it might be?
Awesome. I am going to type in, or actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to do this. If you're having any trouble finding James's email address or anything like that, you can email me. My email address is super easy to remember. It's just the word education at oka11.org, and I just sent that off. You're also going to get a recording of today's session tomorrow in about 24 hours. You'll get a thank you email that'll have a link so you can watch this recording, and you can just fast forward to the end and get the email address.
Or you
So
could watch
whatever
it
works.
again.
Yeah, or you can just watch it 27 times because there's enough things to learn. So without giving any hints, James, I am going to send in a question to everybody. And the first person who replies with the correct answer will receive a $100 gift card to Amazon. Two things to keep in mind. This is our fifth session. So if you're one of the four winners from earlier, don't play again. Second, if you cannot accept a $100 gift for whatever reason, please do not play along either. Okay. So be eligible.
Hold on. Am I eligible?
Yes.
All right. Sweet.
You're eligible to not play. Okay. So here we go. It's hard to type without talking out loud to myself.
That's fine.
All right. On the count of three, this is being sent out. 1, 2, 3. First person to reply and let me know, how many principles did we just discuss? Oh my gosh. I like the wrong answers. They make me smile. First of all, I appreciate all the participation. If you're still typing in answers, you're not first. All right. So let me scroll up. And
wow,
find out just a little bit.
This may be the most engaging group I've ever had.
I know, right? They've done well. Ms. Haley Howard, congratulations. You're the first one to let us know that James did a great job of presenting 11 principles on how to lead people who may not be like you. So, Haley, I'm going to get your email address. Early next week is when I'm going to be going and getting those Amazon gift cards. So you'll be receiving an email from Amazon for that. Everybody, I'm going to wrap this up. If you don't know already, the exhibitor hour is going to start in 5 minutes. So just go to that email, click on the link, jump right back in. You're going to see James's mug along with his friend Jim, and where they're going to host an exhibitor hour where we talk about some of the sponsors and exhibitors that joined forces with us, partnered up with us to give you this information. And we'll also have even more prizes for you. So jump out, jump back in. We'll see you in just a little bit. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.